Okay, I think we're going live. All right, let me just drop a link of what we're doing. And we can start going. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Emergency Hedge. This is the channel where Jessica teaches me Netrunner. Going live.
And I teach Dave.
What are you doing?
And Dave teaches me Argamora. Sorry, I had
Right.
I was listening to us in my other ear to check the sound was working, and it is.
That's great, fantastic stuff. Yeah, it's a bit hard to concentrate when we're talking to each other twice through some sort of time dilation vortex.
Yeah.
How are you doing today, Jessica?
I'm good. I went to see the Barbie movie today, which I enjoyed a lot.
Awesome. Tell me a bit about it without spoiling anything.
That's difficult. It was good. It was It was a lot more than it needed to be. This is a toy tie-in film that touches on deep issues of existentialism and like commercialism and gender theory and feminism and all of this stuff, and it didn't have to. It would have made its money if it had just been, a Barbie film. But it decided to do quite a lot with the material provided, and we all appreciated it. We went as a big group of people everyone was wearing some pink. I was wearing a full Barbie cosplay with like a blonde wig that I'm not wearing now because it doesn't really go with the headphones. And like various bits and bobs that I bought especially for the occasion. Yeah, I had a really good time.
Awesome. I'm hoping to take it in. My sort of gold standard for toy movies that are much better than they have any right to be is the Lego movie. I don't know if you've seen that. And if you have you? Oh, it's. I'm not sure it's got lots to say on gender theory. I wouldn't say it's like it's got philosophical leanings in any way, but it is just genuinely just a very fun film.
Yeah.
And I think that, yeah, there's a great banger of a tune that's like wonderfully dystopian, but you still kind of love, even though it's like extremely dark in many respects. It's a good one. I really want to see the Barbie movie.
I think you should. I think everyone should. I think especially trans women should. Without spoiling anything, when the lights came up at the end, like our group was quite mixed in terms of like cis people and normal people, and all of the sorry, I think it's a funny joke.
It's a good joke. It's a good joke. Took me a second. Yeah, okay.
All of the trans people were crying at the end of the film.
Nice.
And some of the cis people said why, and some of them were like, "Why are you crying?" And then we explained it. They were like, "Oh yeah, that makes a lot of sense."
Nice. Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing it. I'm not sure when I'll get the chance. You remember what the conference I was at was a nuclear conference.
Yeah.
There was a lot of chat about going to see Oppenheimer.
No.
And
Understandably.
I don't know where are you Team Barbie or Team Oppenheimer?
I don't think you need to pick a team.
I don't think so. I would really happily see a double bill of the two. I think the impression I get is they're both great, and I'm interested in both for somewhat different reasons. But
I know people who have indeed gone to do that. I think that is a wild way to behave. That's 5 hours of films on the same day, and like I couldn't have done a second film.
Well, I'm one of the things that I'm quite interested in it. Aside from just the sort of general humour of suggesting to a group, so all the guys at the conference were saying that they wished that they had been organised enough to have a group outing to go and see Oppenheimer, but I was just extremely tickled by suggesting to these sort of retired military types and scientists that actually we should go and see the Barbie movie as well, and wouldn't it be great? But aside from that, I'm really tickled by the idea of like if you go and see a double bill, like what's the order? Which one's first? Which one's second?
So before I went to see Barbie today, I would have definitely said Oppenheimer because I would have been like, well, Barbie's the feel-good one. You'll come out of that feeling like really happy and chirpy. And that is, I felt like a truck had hit me at the end of the Barbie film. So maybe Oppenheimer's actually that. Hey, they win World War II in that one. Sorry for Oppenheimer spoilers, but maybe
So
that's the feel good film.
he's a super interesting guy, and we shouldn't spend all evening talking about him. But like I think his ending was somewhat bleak.
Okay.
Obviously he did some extremely dark things in circumstances that he felt more or less morally justified it, but he got absolutely burned by the US. Like they took away his security clearance because he had communist leanings and fun stuff like that. But yeah, I should say I've talked about this nuclear thing a couple of times. I feel, without wanting to dox myself, I should make it very clear my interest in nuclear weapons is in their abolition, and my job is specifically concerned with their abolition, not with lionizing them anyway. But I do talk to people who have different views as part of their work.
Yeah.
Right, we have such a fun evening ahead of us, Jessica. We have to
Ooh.
drop the amazing topic of the Barbie film, put a pin in it, and talk about some other things instead. Let me press the button and see whether we can get up on our screen. Do you want me to share my screen for this part? I basically
Yes,
we're just going to look
please.
at the cards. Yeah, okay. Let me see if I can do that. No, that's how I do it, I think. Like that. Okay.
There she is.
Yeah, I thought so. We're in the midst of spoiler season, or I suppose the initial shockwave of spoiler season.
Mm.
And we did discuss whether we wanted to go through all the cards and thought that was probably a bit much. So we're going to like talk about some personal highlights, a couple of personal highlights, and then we will move on to tonight's main feature, which is our continuation of the Arkham scenario, Ice and Death Part 2.
Yeah.
But first on the agenda is your chosen highlight, stroke S.
Yeah,
Please take it away.
I'm very, very predictable. This is going to be my favorite Netrunner card for a very, very long time. Having not even tested a single deck with her, I think it's very likely this is the deck that I play at Worlds, and the reasons for that aren't particularly mechanical. This is the first, and hopefully not last, trans femme runner in the Netrunner universe, and it's her bit of lore, her story is really, really nice. Like, I can't remember the exact phrase, but there was sort of a accompanying bit to it where they said like so many stories about trans people are basically to do with how cis people relate to us,
Mm,
or treating us as like curiosities, or focusing on like the most terrible parts of our lives, which are interesting. I get it. Why you'd want to make that your story. But this doesn't focus on that at all. This is like trans girl is artist, also into skating. Trans girl gets girlfriend. Like the story is not particularly about her
mm,
being trans. The story is just about her being like, oh, and I think that's really interesting in the liberation cycle because a lot of the rest of the stuff happening in the liberation cycle does emulate some current struggles that are going on,
mm.
with people battling to have their humanity recognized. Uh, and it's almost like they've depicted those battles and they've depicted this as what we're fighting for.
Mm.
And like that's really powerful and really special.
Yeah, I thought it was. I mean, she's awesome. I can't believe it's the first trans femme,
I know.
the first trans femme runner that Netrunner has.
Some people like it's really easy to headcanon a number
Mm.
of them,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
like I guess like there aren't a lot of them aren't explicitly cis. We haven't got like
Mm. Of course.
descriptions of their live births or anything. But this is the first one who has been explicitly trans. We've got Az, who is a trans man.
Mm-hmm.
Um, we've of course got, oh my gosh, how quickly we forget. Who's the anarchist who likes to take core damage? Who I was
Essa,
maining
Essa.
until, who I was maining until last week. Essa. Essa, who's non-binary.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, yeah.
Some people are already saying Mercury is non-binary as well. And now we have Arisana.
I mean, Mercury seems to use they them pronouns. We'll talk about her shortly.
Yeah.
Spoiler. Yeah, I thought. I mean, I think she looks great. I thought it was a great piece of writing. I did have a niggle about the attitude of her fine art college, but that's a very nerdy detail. What I did think was, I mean, I'm well out of my element here, but what struck me as a more accurate detail was there's a beautiful lesbian love story there where a girl is completely oblivious to the fact that another girl is hitting on her. And as I said, I'm completely out of my element, but I understand that it's very much a thing in lesbian culture. So
Yeah,
that tickled me
definitely.
quite a lot. Do you have much to say about her mechanically?
I do actually. So I can't. Long-time fans of the channel might remember me saying when I was talking about what I wanted to come up in this cycle, that I was saying that I wanted a trans runner, which we've got. I also said I wanted her ability to be kind of mid because I wanted it to be really clear that I was
Yeah.
playing them because they were the trans runner, not because they were just like above the power curve. And at the time this dropped, I thought that's exactly what we'd gotten. As I've analysed it more and more, I actually think this could be kind of incredible
Mm.
with the right build. Um, I'm sure lots of people have pointed out this card loves World Tree.
Yeah, that was my first immediate reaction.
But the big thing I missed is how many cards are Trojans, because a lot of cards that are Trojans don't say Trojan on them. Botulus is a Trojan.
They've been retconned to be Trojans, haven't they, by NSG? This is what I
Yeah,
discovered from the awesome stream last night.
yeah. I was also stealing my information from there.
I love daily
Yeah,
casts. I cannot stay up late enough to watch the whole thing, so I sort of drift off to sleep listening to it. But it's a happy time of the year for me when I go to sleep listening to daily casts and then like wake up in the morning and catch the 20 minutes or so that I didn't.
yeah, yeah.
Shall
I
we
think
move on to the next card to be discussed, or you have
sure.
more Arasana chat?
Are we about to move on to Lilypad?
We are
So we can
about
talk
to
about
move
them
on to
together.
Lilypad. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
let's do that.
Okay, so boom.
Yeah, I think that I don't think I currently don't think this is good. I think 4 is too big a number.
Mhm.
Um, but I can see the justification for 4. I can I just think it's currently competing with Anacam, which is 3.
Mhm.
And I guess this does give you 1 extra MU. And in theory, only in theory, this could get you 1 card draw per turn, including on the corpse turn, because there are occasions when you can install a program on the corpse turn.
Yeah.
Most of the time, that's not going to be true. But in theory, you can get even more value out of this than you can out of Anacam. I just think it's a little bit more unwieldy to get that value.
Could you remind me what Anacam does?
Anacam is a card draw. Every time a card is trashed from hand,
Mhm.
or every time a card, can't remember the exact wording. But basically, if you play a card or a card is trashed by net damage or meat damage or whatever, or core damage,
Yeah.
you will draw a card at that point.
It goes into trash, isn't it? Because it fires off playing events as well as like trashing stuff from the board.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I just don't think this is quite as easy to use as Anacam.
Mhm.
And I think if this was 2 or 3 to install, it would be looking quite strong. I think at 4, it's a hard sell.
Mhm.
Also, like with any console, you want it early to get the full value out of
Yeah.
it, and early on is the time when credits are the most valuable.
Is there a but coming, or you think at the moment this is slightly under the curve, and
So
that's your settled opinion for the time being?
I've kind of included the but, which is um what if you can install a program on the opponent's
Gotcha.
turn and then
Gotcha.
you're
Yeah. Yeah.
effectively getting 2 cards draw per turn,
Mhm.
which is, obviously wild when you can do that. And you can very occasionally do that in as well, but it's like so unwieldy to do. I think in some ways this is going to be the like shaper version of as.
Yes.
Not
Yeah. I
necessarily-
mean, it's my sort of sense of the play style here is kind of similar. It's just like mad timing window nonsense where you're just throwing stuff into play with
yeah,
no regard for proprietary or your opponent's feelings.
yeah, and having to remember like 7 different triggers every time you start a run, which is like kind of what kills as in tournaments. I think as is quite strong. I think that you cannot expect yourself to play as for like 10 hours and still get all of those triggers right.
Yeah, yeah. Cool. Well, it will be interesting to see. Where presumably, I mean, I tell you what. One thing I've really enjoyed about Spoiler Season so far is how upfront they've been about the development and design process. There's been some
Yeah.
awesome like behind the scenes stuff, including today the iterative stages that the MBN ID went through, which is just kind of stuff that you do not ever get in Arkham. Like that's anathema to the entire corporate entity of FFG, and it's really awesome to see a completely different approach from NSG. And I can't think of any reason they wouldn't talk about this stuff, and I can't think of any reason FFG don't really. But it's really interesting to see, and it's really laudable. I think makes it super interesting. But one of the things they've said is the proportion of the cards in this release they're expecting to gel with the IDs. So presumably there'll be some more support for this fun stuff, and maybe
Yeah.
you'll get your playing cards on the corpse turn tricks.
Yeah, I mean, some already exist.
Mm.
Simultape
Yeah.
exists. SMC exists. Pauli's Cafe, is that what I mean? Pauli's Cafe exists. Whether it's correct in this context, I don't know, but it exists. Yeah, I think there's lots of fun jank to be made around this ID and this console.
Awesome. And I mean, got mentioned in Daily Cast last night, but the frog stuff going on makes me happy.
Yeah, the frog stuff's really cool.
Yeah. Let's move on to Mercury, which is my pick to chat about. There's several reasons I want to chat about them. So you don't think this is a canonically MB character, as far as we know? They seem to use they pronouns in the short story, though, right?
They did, and I would not even dream of saying to anyone, "Oh no, I don't think that they're NB." I think that I don't think it's a bad read considering their aesthetic and considering the fact they're only ever called they them pronouns in the story. I think that it's a strong read, and I think perhaps you don't always have to have an explicit line saying. And they thought for a moment about their non-binary identity and how important that was to them,
Yeah.
or whatever.
Yeah.
Sometimes it can.
It would be very clunky.
It would be very clunky.
What was the first thing you said? You said something very interesting, considering their aesthetic.
Yeah, they look non-binary.
Right. Considering their aesthetic, right? Okay. I thought that was an adjective about them. That anyway, I thought there was some Byroid sexuality information in that comment that you were passing on that I didn't know, for law stuff that I didn't know.
Yeah, they're a Nico model. It was
Right.
mentioned somewhere.
Yeah.
It's like those are literally built as models. They are built to be beautiful.
As in Nico campaign.
As in Nico campaign.
Yeah. I did pick up on that in the story.
But this one has crazy abs, and I don't know if they all have crazy abs or if it's just this one has crazy abs.
Yeah, I thought it was an awesome story. It's one of the things I wanted to talk about. I wanted to get a bit more of your law knowledge on what was going on in the story. They seem to be helping people escape to Brazil. Well, not people, probably Byroids.
Yeah.
That seemed to be what was going on.
Yeah, because everywhere else, Byroids are slaves, right? Built as slaves, and this is also true of clones.
Yeah,
one of the many dark things about the Netrunner universe is that Hasbiroid and Jinteki are slavers. That's the
yeah,
main thing that
yeah.
they make money out of. They have convoluted justifications for their slavery, but that has always historically been the case.
Mm, mm.
I think that they were. So, what I found really interesting
So
about
it's a
their
sort of underground railroad thing going on that they were involved in the short story.
that's my reading of
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
But why was
Um,
Jinteki coming after them? Were they running clones and
I,
bioroids?
I would guess
Are
they
they a
were running.
bioroid running clones or?
I think they're a bioroid running clones. So, I mean, we've just seen with Arasana's story a natural helping out bioroids. I think the
Mm,
sort of cross, I don't know what you want to call it, cross type solidarity is a
mm,
big theme of the liberation cycle.
yeah, yeah. Which is fucking cool. Let's put a pin in that. So I want to
It's very.
I want to come back to that. Um,
I'll tell you. Can I tell you the thing that really spoke to me about this story?
please do. Yeah, yeah.
So, I take it you read it, and it
I
was the
have
sort
read
of
all of the stories. Yeah, yeah.
spoilers for this story for
Mm.
anyone who wanted to go away and read it. Uh,
Do go and read it if you haven't.
a
Like pause us or whatever. It's fine.
it's really good.
Yeah.
A key point in this story was that Mercury sees some of the Jinteki soldiers drowning
Mm,
and saves them,
loved it. I love that so
and
much.
gets kind of told off by one of her comrades. And she has a bit of internal dialogue about it
They.
no longer. Sorry, you're absolutely right. They have a bit of internal dialogue about their programming no longer making them do this kind of thing, but them choosing to do it and actually not really wanting to act like humans do, because humans
Mm,
gun down people who are no threat to them all the time in this world, and they're deciding to be something else. And I think getting to that point of confidence where you can accept elements of an identity that was forced upon you against your will
mm.
because they happen to align with what you believe, rather than being forced to reject that identity outright, is a really cool and interesting thing to have appeared in this story.
That's really interesting. I did not pick up on that, and that's almost certainly because I'm reading this stuff on the phone whilst chasing my children around. But so that last bit escapes me. I'm super glad that we brought this up. Yeah, I I thought that story particularly was a really really powerful piece of writing, but that even with having missed that last twist like a klutz, I think a lot of the lore writing is really interesting for players of the game. I thought this particular piece of writing was a very high quality piece of science fiction that I would have been happy to read,
Yeah,
even if I had no interest in the game. Thought it was really, really good. That's actually one of the reasons I wanted to talk about Mercury today. The other reason is loads more prosaic and is mechanical. Is not that their ability blew my mind, but it did excite me because there's a bunch of cards in Criminal that I have just not I've kind of had my eye on but not had a chance to do anything with, that I think work really well. That all of this actually your eyes doesn't matter stuff, like obviously Inside Job, Know and Love, and backstitching infused a little bit as well as part of a mark package. But there's also stuff like emergency shutdown. There's bypass abilities on Femme Fatale and Abnal. I'm probably saying I'm absolutely bitching that. Abnale, whatever. So there's like a
yeah,
and there's backline as well. There's like a bunch of actually your eyes isn't going to happen. Sorry about that. Cards in Criminal that I I didn't feel have been used very much, but I hope um will work well enough with this ID that they get. Certainly that I get a chance to play with them anyway. I'm looking
yeah.
forward to that.
I think I don't think this is strong. I don't think we're going to
Mm,
see this win worlds or anything like that.
mm,
I think it'll be really. I think it will be good enough that you can build a deck that you win some games with, and it will be absolutely fine at your local meta and kitchen table
yeah,
netrunner, and more to the point, fun. This is.
yeah.
when I say this isn't very strong, that is not a complaint.
Yeah.
If every card is above the power curve becomes exponential.
Mhm.
So like there should be cards like this. But like if you're gonna take all of the fun, I'm about to take all of the fun out of the game for just a second. Watch it just like disappear from the room. If you get this down to its bare essentials, it's saying if you work really hard, you can get 1 extra access a turn. And we found with Sable in the last cycle that if you work really hard, you can get 1 extra click a turn was not a good enough deal. And I do not think 1 extra access is better than 1 extra click.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Basically, all the fun gone, all the fun. But
Yeah.
like,
I already feel really down. It's like how many more hours for this stream have we got this? Last thing I want to say about Mercury. Oh no, say your about, and then I'll say my last thing.
the best Netrunner happens when you say, I care more about doing this in style than I do about definitely winning. And then you accidentally come across a really interesting and cool build and start doing both at the same time. So I think this is a great card. I will definitely build some decks around it. I will build 5 times as many decks as Arasana for obvious reasons.
Yeah. One other thing about the fiction, the lore fiction that I wanted to mention is just how happy it's made me seeing Cops having a bad day. Now that we have some people watching us, I think it's really important to alienate any part of our audience who doesn't agree that Cops having a bad day is a good thing. So like, thank you for your interest. Goodbye. We're an anti-Cops channel. Sorry about that.
On or off duty, whatever's going on elsewhere in their lives.
Yeah.
Whatever their personal reasons for joining the force, I hope they all have a bad day today.
Amen. Right, let's move on to... we both wanted to talk about 2 different Jinteki cards. So you want to talk a bit about the ID, and I want to talk a bit about the other card that was there.
So I'm a little underprepared for this one because it's been I've been rushing around today. I kind of I love the idea of this, that like you just have the 2 remote servers that you're building up, and it's that classic Jinteki idea of like which is the cool one, which is the one that you want, and which is the one that's like, which is the one with the shit you want in, and which is the one that is going to fuck you over.
Yeah. I completely agree. Yeah, it looks fun.
And I think it goes really well with the upgrade that you're like. I don't have a huge amount to say about it because as I say, I'm a bit underprepared. But I think that it's install an extra card thing is good enough. Like I think that it's good enough that you will see play, see play relatively competitively. I mean, I guess you could argue Ace is better, and Acer is better, but
which one is Acer? Sorry.
So Acer Group is an HB identity that every time you create a remote server, I think this is right. Every time you create a remote server, you may also like install a card protecting that server.
Right. Yeah.
It is basically an identity that lends itself really well to asset spam. You get the click back is what I mean.
Yeah.
So yeah, it lends itself really well to asset spam. This doesn't lend itself to asset spam. What this lends itself to is to like super glaciery and unpleasant servers. I think that's really interesting. I think it's just create some weird Netrunner that we don't usually see. You don't usually see glacier builds that have 2 glaciers ever. You never see it.
Yeah, let's make it weird. I'm in favour of it. I haven't got my head around it at all, but I suspect that there's some absolutely whack Moonpool plays available with this ID. Is it Moonpool I'm thinking of, or it's Mitosis? I always get those 2 confused because they both start with M.
Yes.
You're still looking at me like I'm talking about the wrong cards, Jessica, which is slightly unheavy. The one, install 2 cards and put advance both of them.
That is Mitosis. The reason I'm confused is because Moonpool is also a good answer, and I'm now thinking about the Moonpool possibilities.
I can't remember what Moonpool is. I was thinking Mitosis.
Yeah. Why do you think mitosis is good for this?
Um, because like, well, I haven't got my head around the interactions, but it appears to me that you would do one click, and for that you would install two cards,
Mm-hmm.
both assets or agendas, and then additionally in one of those two servers you would install another card, either an upgrade or a piece of ice. So you basically got, for one click, 1.5 iced servers,
Yeah.
and two cards in the route advanced in the route of each
Yeah.
server.
So for a start, I think mitosis is 2 clicks, right?
Oh god, yeah, maybe. I haven't. I've seen people playing with it. I haven't played with it. Yeah, that would make sense.
But yeah, I can see the value there.
It might be a hat
Um,
on a hat. It just strikes me that it's like
yeah, I think you're
more
right.
extra speedy board setup. It's like going from, hey, I have nothing to, oh, look at this horror awaiting you, runner.
Yeah. I mean, it's you're going to end up with 2 clown car servers with like 3 pieces of ice on each. That's your ideal.
It's certainly my ideal, personally. That's what I
The
aspire to.
For this idea, I mean, that's what you're aiming for, and that's what you'll build around. You'll have like an absolute. You'll have loads and loads of upgrades. You'll have loads and loads of. You'll have some assets, but because you can only get to like 2,
Hmm.
you're not going to have that many assets. And you'll have loads and loads of ice, and yeah, I just think it's really interesting.
Yeah.
Pinhole threading is going to be horrible for it, obviously, but like you can only have 3 pinhole threading, and then they're gone.
Well, hold that thought. Hold that thought, because let's go and have a look at Front Company. Which again, I have not spent a lot of time working out loads of intelligent things to say about this, but this just strikes me as a card that has got potential for some very interesting board states. And one of them, I think, is being a bit of a pain in the ass for pinhole threading.
Yeah,
So it's, you have to raise it on your turn, so it's not a trap that you can set the runner. It's something the runner knows about at the outset of their turn.
yeah,
But it makes them have to order their turn in a particular way, and it strikes me that there are some interesting possibilities that come from that. You know, one of which is this third block of text here, which is if the server that Front Company is in
yeah,
is not protected by ice, you do 2 net damage when you do a run on archives.
yes,
So this unprotected on a board creates a situation where the obvious pinhole threading target is a 2
yeah,
net damage server all of a sudden. And
yeah,
furthermore, if you want to get rid of this, you have to run a different central, not archives, unless you want to take 2 net damage,
mhm,
and then run this and trash it, and then go back to
yeah.
archives, and then they're like, oh, where's your turn gone? Sorry about that. That sucks to be you. Like, I think there's some really interesting plays with it. Is it regeneration? The
Regenesis, yeah,
regenesis, yeah, hide your agendas in archives. Like, I think having this and a spin doctor on the table and the regenesis gives you
yeah.
some very interesting and probably quite safe, relatively safe plays with regenesis.
I mean, the interesting, yeah. So, I mean, if the agenda in archives is Odacata Protocol, which it often is when
Mm,
you're trying to play
mm,
Regenesis, then we, if you assume the runner does run archives first click, they take 2 net damage. Suddenly they're only on 3 cards and can't steal
mm, mm,
Odacata Protocol. If you're PE, they almost certainly can't steal it this turn.
yeah.
They cannot safely steal it this turn. If you're a different ID they probably can steal it safely this time, but it's just a bit more of a faff for them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It may well turn out that this is the card that once everyone's got the measure of it, it's not as difficult an obstacle as it first appears, but it's certainly one that's going to be tripping people up for a while.
This card was an ID for a long time.
Oh, really?
I cannot remember what the ID was called.
A Jinteki one, presumably?
Yes, it was. And my brain is saying it's Restoring Humanity, but I think that's a current one. Let's have a look. Yeah, that is a current one. Jinteki IDs. No. See, this probably isn't very exciting. I will give it like 1 minute.
While you're doing that, I will say the other thing that Jessica, we've got a comment. Alvin Lee says replicating perfection.
Replicating perfection is exactly it.
Thank you very much, Alvin Lee. Much appreciated.
You, Alvin. I was like one scroll away, but you got there first, which means you get our star prize, which unfortunately, due to budget restrictions, does not exist. But it is yours.
It's unquantifiable amount of kudos that is, in the small print, not exchangeable for any monetary value. Well done, Alvin. And congratulations.
Therefore, you don't need to declare it on your taxes, which is
awesome.
Yeah, so Replicating Perfection said something very similar to this, minus the bit about running on archives. Lots of people loved this idea. They absolutely loved it. I think that NSG has made the right call in not just reprinting the ID. I think they've done quite a few things actually with this, where
Mercury's console, right, is ID ability that's reprinted as a card.
Yeah, it's Leela's ID ability, which was considered one of the most broken IDs of all time. I wasn't playing Netrunner when that card was around, but I'm told it was just considered wildly broken and definitely a good candidate for banning. Now they seem to and we've discovered with the Reprise that it turns out if you put an ID on the ability on a card, it's not always that strong.
Yeah.
Reprise is fine, but people want it to be good, and it's not. Which makes it lovely. It's the little card. It's not the little card that could. It's the little card everyone wishes could.
The little card we all pretend could, but actually can't. The other thing that struck me about Front Company is that I wonder whether this has got a cheeky home in Thule.
Interesting. Tell me your reasoning.
Well, I mean, it's taking away, it's restricting the number of free clicks that the runner has. Right, they have to keep a click at the end in case they pick up a agenda, and suddenly, if they want to pick up that agenda, which presumably is in a remote server and you're trying to score it, they have to spend another click running a central. And God forbid there's some ice that taxes a click, or the evil triplets in the root of the server. Suddenly it's core damage city.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, Dave. I think this is prime candidate.
I love it, right?
Congratulations, because
thank you.
On this occasion, you are.
Thanks very much. Cool. I have one other thing to say about Card Spoiled so far, which is, I would like to take a moment to mark the occasion that NSG has taken action to fix a historical wrong and addressed the disgraceful lack of capybara representation in the Netrunner card pool. We can all hold our heads a little bit higher as a consequence, and it's a happy day. I'm looking forward to seeing what that card does, and even if it's absolute dog shit, I'm going to play it today.
Yeah, I feel bad for making it all about me when we could have been talking more about
The capybara. We
The,
will. We
the
will.
long
I think
overdue,
everyone will be talking a
long,
lot about the capybaras for a very
long
long time.
overdue
Yeah.
capybara representation. Finally.
Cool. Yeah. Spoiler season continues. The the main things that are happening are some cards being spoiled by Neon Static and GLC tomorrow. The Netrunner
Hmm.
podcasts. Andre on Thursday. Slumscasts Wednesday. Shadownet on Thursday. Sanguine and Stimhack on Friday, and Logic Bomb, the Logic Bomb blog.
Oh,
Yeah. So that will be fun. We
it will be fun.
we're planning to stream on Thursday, so we'll probably chat a bit more about them then, and we'll have to work out what we're playing, but it should be Netrunner.
It should be Netrunner. I suspect we're going to have a lot to talk about on Thursday.
I think so. I think so.
I won't. I won't say more than that. But I suspect we're going to have a lot to talk about on Thursday.
I think whatever happens, we will.
Hmm.
Cool. So one more thing I wanted to chat about is just the Suzi Corner is back. Everyone's favourite segment on the Emergency channel. We are going to play some Arkham tonight, and I just want to flag that we got the deck building for Suzi, who we were chatting about last time. Oh my god, it's fucking batshit in the best possible way. She has a 50 card deck, which is joint largest of any investigator, and we knew that she was a neutral ID, and there was a lot of chat in between her front dropping and her back dropping about what that was going to look like and what cards she would have access to. The most wildest speculation was that she would have access to all of the cards, and that, in a very interesting way, has turned out to be the case. So, like, I'm not even going to talk about her signatures and how many are in there. There's, I assume, a balanced amount for a 50 card deck. I wouldn't know. I've only played a 50 card deck once, I think, in this game. You have to balance 7 cards from each class, and the fact that you do technically have access, although it doesn't say weirdly in any of the deck building requirements or restrictions, although you have access to cards above level 0 from all of the classes, the restriction is about how you upgrade. So you might recall that her abilities involve her eating just ravenously everything on the board and from her hand, and basically the class of cards that at the end of the scenario she has eaten the most of is the class that she's allowed to upgrade. So you've got this absolutely whack like mini game in the scenario where you're like, oh, which cards shall I eat? I have to eat cards to like keep my stats going up and down, and but also which cards do I eat because I want to upgrade X class. I mean, God Almighty, Maxine Newman, like we hail the great one. She is, if this is genuinely her last piece of design work on the game, which she herself has caused us to doubt by lying about this in the first place and then joking about lying about this subsequently. But if it really is her last piece of design on the game, my goodness, what a way to go out. It's quite the swan song.
Yeah.
That's everything I had to say on the Suzi corner. I don't know whether you've more to say about Suzi or whether we should move on to our main feature.
I find her wonderful and baffling in equal measure.
Yeah.
That's all I have to say.
Yeah. Yeah. Not one to take as your first investigator, I think.
Yeah, I think that's true.
Let's move on to Tabletop Simulator, where I haven't prepped our game in the way that I should have. Apologies for that. Let's get you, Jessica. Are you on Steam?
I should be. Steam usually opens up when I reboot the computer, which I did today in anticipation of otherwise the computer throwing a tantrum like it did last time. So I will be shortly is the answer to your question.
Okay. I would like everyone to avoid looking at the pirated Steam Workshop items that I have here. I haven't actually played any of the ones that you can see on screen, so it's a bit theoretical.
There I am. I've been invited to play Tabletop Simulator with Dave.
Hooray!
An ideal time for that to happen.
Okay, you're playing Tabletop Simulator. Doubtless you are about to arrive. Do you recall what had happened when we played before?
No, I'm blanking on it really hard, actually.
It's kind of weird, isn't it? Because this scenario and the last one were played on the same map, so I'm getting strong vibes that we were trudging around aimlessly in icy wilderness, and I can't exactly remember what we were hoping to achieve by doing that or where we'd got to. Which is I mean, again, is a good piece of ludonarrative design.
Yeah, it is.
But probably doesn't set us. Go on. Tell me what you're remembering.
I'm remembering that we found one of the survivors, and I think we might have like argued him into coming back or something.
Oh yes, that's right. Yeah, they'd wandered off in the night, hadn't they?
Yeah.
Okay, let's get you at your seat.
We discarded cards till we could get him back, and like that wasn't too hard because my character, my ID draws cards so absurdly quickly that I was already in danger of hitting the hand limit, so it was
That's
almost
right.
like a relief that I could offload these cards onto him.
Okay, now I can see the lost researcher whose disgusting art I talked about a lot previously. So that's that lost researcher, and the Doom situation is reminding me that we had got to the agenda flipping way before we were ready for it.
Yeah.
So I think we had an Ancient Evils as well, hadn't we?
Yes, that's all. That all sounds correct.
So yeah, so we're going around. We can look at the cards under locations when we clear them of clues. Is that right? Is that how this works?
Yes, that is correct.
Yeah, here we go. Investigators at your location spend 1 per investigator clues as a group. Draw the encounter card beneath your location, and then we can resign at camp, which is the icebreaker, to turn in for the night. And this is a single act, so find as many missing expedition members as you can by adding them to the victory display, then head back to camp before daybreak.
Okay. Have we flipped this agenda?
No, we haven't. I think I distinctly remember saying, let's not do that. Oh, look, you can see Ancient Evils in my
Cool. I think
in my threat area. Yeah, so I drew that, and I think we were having technical issues, weren't we? And we decided to call it a night. So I'm gonna press this button and reset the Doom. And would you do us the honour of reading the flip side of the agenda, and then we can proceed with our turn. I'm assuming, yeah, that you're the lead investigator, aren't you? So I would have drawn the second encounter card. You probably drew the lost researcher.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. Cool. Take it away.
Ciao. As you journey through the glacial wilds, you stumble across a set of tracks in the snow leading farther from camp. You pause and investigate further. Were these tracks made by one of your missing team members, or by something more monstrous? Choose a face-down encounter card beneath location. Look at the other side of that card without resolving its text, then turn it face down beneath that location. Okay, that actually doesn't sound like a bad thing.
No, it doesn't, does it?
No, we should.
That makes me immediately suspicious.
Yes, me too. Shall we just do this one? The most accessible. Or shall we do this one over here at the barrier camp? Let's do one at the barrier camp, maybe.
I think that might be a harder one to get.
Why?
It is the. Sorry, I'm trying to get Discord to stay on the top. The shroud is higher.
I think you've misunderstood what we need to do to turn these pictures over.
We just need to get the right number of clues.
Yeah, which is like 2.
Okay, so it could be either.
Unless I've double checked my work,
Oh,
looking on the ad.
gotcha. Oh, so we're
Like,
just. Sorry, I'm being slightly distracted by trying to make sure our faces stay on top of the screen and failing. So sorry about that.
sure,
Okay.
that's fine.
I think. Okay, now I think that we want to. There we go. I can now see the cards properly. I think we probably want to look at one that's really hard to get to. The one that's going to be the most annoying to get to, or if there are two that are the most annoying to get to, one of them, so that we can rule it out. Like we ideally want to do.
Sure. Yeah, sure. I agree with your logic.
So we
So
still
is
need
that
we
this
still need
one?
to for some of the locations for Lakes Camp and Crystalline Cavern and the Snow Graves and the Broad Snowdrifts, we need to spend clues to get into them, don't we?
Yes.
So I
Yes.
think one of these, the Crystalline Cavern or Lakes Camp, we should check and see if there's somebody that we are looking for underneath them, and if not, we know that we don't need to go there this scenario.
You're gonna hate what I'm about to say.
Please, please say it anyway.
Logically, it's the Crystalline Caverns that we should do because I think it's the furthest away from both of us, and it costs 8 to get into.
Yes, yeah, no, I don't hate that. I don't hate that. If only because if we do need to go into that, then I can continue to spend our whole evening arguing in favour of it.
Right. Let's look then.
Takada
What is it?
Hiroko. It's
Is it one of them?
it's one of them. Yeah, so aeroplane mechanic.
Okay, let's go to the Crystalline Caverns then.
Um,
If that's where we've got to go, like that's bad luck, but
yeah, I think we need to. Well, we need to try at any rate.
we
So
would need 10 clues to uncover him.
yeah,
And then we'll also need to. When you were looking at him, could you tell us what we need to do to get him back on side?
I think she's her. But I will. Okay, spend up to 3 resources. Parlay, place each of these resources on Takada if there are 5 per investigator on her additive victory display.
Oh, okay.
So
yeah, that's fine. That's easy to do.
so we need to put 10 on her. We can put on 3 per action spent, and so that's 10 resources and 4 actions to do, right?
It is.
That's an annoying
How
number.
have yours? It is. Yeah. I've got loads of resources, but it's
You
just going to be
do.
really action, isn't it? So it's him and one more person we need to find. There are
Her.
one. Sorry.
Takada is a her, I think. Female aeroplane mechanic.
Oh, it's very progressive for the 1920s or whatever
It is. It is.
So we've got one of these face down cards. We've got 4, 5, 6, 7, and one that we know what it is.
Yeah.
Okay, so the rest of that's a serious crapshoot in terms of the amount of time I think we've got.
Mm-hmm.
Especially when, unless we get oodles of resources, we kind of need to come back to our original base camp.
Yes, and it's very important to not neglect enough time to do that in scenarios where there's a resign option, because it's I don't think there's any that I've encountered where letting the agenda tick out rather than resigning is not just a terrible idea that you regret afterwards.
Okay. So can we agree on? I think we should turn over the two. We should basically turn over any that are on the way to the crystalline caverns. I think that's something we should do.
Yeah,
I'm not sure we should go massively out of our way to turn over any more until we're pretty confident about the one that we're going to get.
yeah. How are you doing clues wise? You've got 2 there.
I've only got 2.
Yeah.
You've got 2.
And the Polar Mirage
Won't let me
makes,
get any off this thing unless I discard all of my cards.
yeah.
But maybe we decide we want clues so badly that screw it. You know?
Yeah, I mean, at the moment, the Treacherous Path and the Frozen Shores both have 2 clues on them and are a Shroud of 2.
Cool.
I was on my way to the Rocky Crags to deal with the Lost Researcher.
Yes.
Right now, the Lost Researcher doesn't need to be dealt with at all, and I probably have a trick for them up my sleeve.
Cool.
Oh. It's time for my fail son to do something.
Yeah.
I think so. Yeah. That's
I'm happy to hear it.
me too. We've been building up to this. Yeah, base of 4. Okay, cool. Yeah, I can send my fail son off to one of these 2 shroud locations. It won't happen very quickly, but they can start investigating it.
That's great. Shall I wonder? Do you want to go first?
Yeah, maybe, yeah. I think what's my turn going to look like? Yeah, I'm fairly clear of what idea of what I'm going to do this turn, I think. So I could start off doing that, and we'll see where we get to. I am going to spend 2 to play Ethereal Slip. And I will swap places with the Lost Researcher. Oh no, before that, shall I have a look underneath my location? The card underneath my location.
Yeah.
So I'll spend my 2 clues to do that, which is a free trigger ability, isn't it? It's not
Yeah. It could change everything.
Yeah.
Like,
And if this is the person we're looking for, we are laughing. Okay. Desiccated Explorer. And do you want to read this one?
it's worse than that, Dave. Dissected Explorer.
Oh, that is much worse.
You follow a set of tracks into a small cavern, carved into a glacial wall, and your stomach lurches at the sight before you. One of your missing team members lies in a crumpled heap at the end of the hollow, his clothing torn open. A clean vertical incision has bisected his torso open from his sternum to his belly, and his entrails have been carefully removed. You struggle not to retch. Who could possibly have done such a thing? Search your deck for a copy of Tequili Lil and replace it on the bottom of the Tequili Lil deck without resolving it. Shuffle your deck.
Okay.
Add this story to the victories. So this is remove a Tequili Lil a card from your deck, right?
Yes. Let's see if I've got one.
Yeah.
I think I did. Yeah, I think I made some joke about how I hated them. I hated myself or something that I put them in when we were doing deck building before. Was that search?
Yeah. I think so.
Oh, that's great. So it's not just I can take a Tequila Lee card out of the deck. It's that I can take the one that I like the least out of there.
Yes, it is. That's my understanding here as well.
Okay, I think I like the lose 2 resources one the least, so that can go. And go. And I was in the middle of playing Ethereal Slip, and I realised that I needed to do that first. So I swapped places with the Lost Researcher. I can just hang out there now. So that's action 1. And I think action 2, I play... I know I've got Lucky Cigarette Case down already. That's awesome. Okay, action 2, Clairvoyance. Once. So I am investigating using my willpower, which is 5 versus a Shroud of 3. And I will commit my spare copy of Lucky Cigarette Case to that. So I'm investigating 6 versus 3. I get a Frost token, so that's a -1. And a +1, so I get 2 clues off this location. And third action, I'm going to do another Clairvoyance. This time 5 versus 3. I get a -1, so that's another 2 clues. And I've set myself up to play the Servitor next turn, because I now have unused asset that I don't mind discarding when I play it. So that's my turn. Oh, shall I have a look? Let me have a look underneath here as well.
Yeah, why not?
Madness Inside.
I had the little Intel Inside jingle go in my... You said that, probably showing my age as well. To your relief, you come across one of your missing team members, but they are not themselves. Their eyes are glazed over, their expression dazed and lost. A murky, slimy substance drips from their face and trickles onto the ice below. When you finally manage to get through to them, they wipe the strange, inky miasma from their face, staining their cheeks black. What was I doing? They ask. Choose a possessed enemy in play that does not have the elite trait. Take control of each doom on that enemy, flipping them to their clue sides. Discard the chosen enemy, that's good.
Yep.
Add this story card to the victory display.
Awesome. Cool. So that's the Lost Researcher done.
Okay. And that's your turn, yeah?
Yeah. It's my turn.
Right. Stella's going to come down here. She's going to check this card. I'm going to spend the clues before I forget.
Yeah, do it.
And then I'll read it up.
I think I just forgot to send my clues, so I'll do that as well.
Okay. The traps continue for some time before vanishing bafflingly into the snow. There's no sign of any struggle, nor are there any other tracks that might indicate where they could have gone. Could the winds have covered the tracks? And if so, why were you able to follow the rest of the footprints so easily? But when you turn back to examine the prints you first followed, they too are gone. Remove Frost from the Chaos bag and add this to the victory display. It's another victory 0.
Cool. I will do that.
And I accidentally brought a clue with it, but I think it's one of the clues that we are never going to collect because they, unless I'm willing to just like lose everything in my hand. Can't go in there. I might go and fail to investigate the precarious ice sheets.
Yeah, I think you should. I think if you go to the precarious ice sheet and then head down to the snow graves, I think that
Yeah,
the servitor can clean up the treacherous paths and the frozen shores, or possibly at
yeah.
some point go back to the icy wastes when I don't have very many cards.
So I'm gonna use drawing thin to make it even harder.
Mm-hmm.
And I do rabbits for afterwards. I'm definitely not using flashlight. This isn't going to be successful. Oh, who's my friend I've got with me?
Avery Claypool,
Yeah.
who,
Um,
who is
okay.
a frost token cancelling powerhouse.
Okay. Uh, just looking at my cards in case there's something. I might as well take heart here because I'm
Yeah,
pretty certain I'm gonna fail.
do it.
Uh, it's 6 versus 2. Yes, I have failed. So
Hooray.
things that happen are I gain 2 resources. Let's do that first. I'm going to draw. Considering that we need to spend a bunch of resources quite soon, I'm going to gain 3 resources, 4 resources, and draw 1 card.
Oh, I should have drawn a card from Lucky Secret Case, I'm sure. The first of those 2 investigations, I've certainly passed by more than 2. So I will rectify that right now.
Cool. I will move. Where are we trying to end up? Snowgraves. Cool. I will move down here for my final action to the frozen shores. I'm also going to take a bio break. Very sorry about that, but I'll be
That's
back
fine.
very shortly.
Was that your turn?
Yes, it was. That's the end of my turn.
Cool.
I'll be back in 2 minutes.
No worries at all. Okay, so Jessica's had her turn. There are no enemies on the board, so the enemy phase doesn't have anything happening in it. I'm going to do my upkeep and think about my next plan. Okay, I've got power word in my hand now. So I was thinking, let's talk about my next turn. I was thinking that I want to play the servitor, which will discard clairvoyance, which is fine. And then I wonder. So I don't have any good clue tech anymore, do I? Now that I've got rid of clairvoyance. The servitor can go down and start investigating the treacherous path, but that will take a considerable amount of time before anything interesting happens. I could play showmanship, which is cute when I start using Drex's ability, but I'm not at the moment. I could go up to the frigid cave and get a mineral specimen. But I can't really investigate there because that is a shroud of 4 and I have an intellect of 2. I think I'm probably at the stage of hoping that an enemy comes along in the mythos phase, and then I can play power word on them and basically send off my flying monkeys to get clues instead of doing anything useful myself. Let's see what remind ourselves of what I could do with power word, because I literally haven't actually played it yet. So I have to be at their location. This is the difference between power word and the servitor. I have to be at their location to activate it. But I can give 2 different commands when I activate it, which is cool. So the base ones that are available are Go and Cower, Move and Exhaust. Right now I'm just having a moment where I'm wondering why I have chosen to stream me struggling to comprehend cards on the internet live. So I play this on an enemy, right? It's a fast card. And all right, okay, and the activate ability is a parlay. So I can draw an enemy, it's engaged with me, I can play Power Word onto that enemy as a fast action, and then I can parlay with that enemy, which does take an action, but it doesn't give me an attack opportunity, and send them off to get a clue. If it's an enemy with a health of more than 4, I can send them off to Frigid Cave, and they can just go and get a clue there. And then the next turn, I can maybe go there and get them to get another clue. But that's not really great, is it? Because that's basically, it has to be two different commands. So I'm still like, I suppose it's one action, isn't it? One action, 2 commands. I don't think there's a limit to how many commands I can give a turn, is there? No, there is a limit. Limit once per round per command. So if I get an enemy, I can send them off to the Frigid Cave to get a clue, but they're not going to do anything further unless I chase after them and give them more commands. I mean, that still sounds like a fun thing to do, so I'm absolutely going to do that if I get an enemy with that number of clues. If not, I guess I'm... Hey, Jessica, are you there?
I've just gotten back, yes.
Ah, awesome. I was like mulling over. I thought that I should fill the dead air with talking about my turn. And I was trying to work out how Power Word works. Basically, what it all boils down to is I need to see if I get an enemy this turn. And if I do, that's fun, but maybe not super powerful. What are my options? Kind of depends what their health is. Would you like to take your upkeep phase?
Yep. Upkeep phase.
I've done mine in your absence.
Taking her upkeep phase. I've sung the song, I've taken the phase.
Awesome. Okay, we go up to 1 doom of 5 on this agenda. How about you drawing a counter card?
Oh, I'd love to. What could go wrong?
Nothing. Oh, it looks like your camera isn't on at the moment. That's something that could go wrong.
That does sound like it's gone wrong. Oh, that's very strange because it is on.
Interesting.
But you can't see it.
No. No. It's showing as not being there.
I turned it off again. And I've turned it back on again.
Awesome.
Is
That's
it
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks.
I mean, interesting. There seems to be 2 of you here now. One with and one without a camera.
Interesting. Very interesting. I see what you mean.
Yeah. Okay. I think I've resolved it, or it's resolved itself.
Right. So
you were about to draw a counter card.
I was. Hang on. I'm also just gonna also.
Put your quick learner at a jaunty angle.
Yeah, I forgot I even had Quick Learner installed.
This is
but
how we roll.
Matter.
You moved last turn, didn't you? It was your first action.
Yeah. My first and second actions, and then my third action, I failed so hard that it wouldn't have made any difference. Through the ice. Attach to the nearest location without or near the ice. And then it's hard to leave without taking damage and horror.
Yeah, it's an agility test.
But maybe it's time for me to take some damage and horror in my life.
Possibly. I am going to draw an ice shaft. Oh wow, it's all about the agility tests and Related unpleasantnesses, it seems.
Yeah.
Okay. Test for agility. For each frost token revealed during this test, take 1 damage. If you fail, take 2 damage. I'm probably sure I'm taking 2 damage here. Let's see. That's a skull, which is minus X, half the shelter value of your location rounded up. So that's 2. Yeah. So I just take 2 damage. So that's all right. I would have rather drawn an enemy, but there we go.
Really? Oh, that's really annoying. That makes Frozen Shores much harder to investigate. Ugh.
Ah, so it does.
Okay.
Do you have the clues to move to Snowbraves?
No. I've got the number of clues I have right now is 0.
Okay. All right. Okay. So, yeah, I feel like Dexter has been exposed on stage, and all of his tricks are suddenly known to the audience, and he's a slightly shrunken figure. I can play my servitor. That I think is probably my next move, but it's not going to do anything quickly.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry, that doesn't inspire very much hope. I'm confidence. So to get to the caverns, we need to get 8 clues, right?
Yes. And then we need 2 more to turn over the card, and then we need to do the thing. So we need 10 clues, really.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's just not worth going there. But it's, I guess, not particularly worth. It would be like the hardest location, wouldn't it?
What would be the hardest location?
The place that we've got to go and get the dude from.
Yes, yeah. There's a sort of can you just not aspect to it. So I could play the servitor. I could go to the frigid cave. I could have a look underneath the frigid cave, and I could play another card that's kind of useful. And I think that's probably my best bet for my turn, and sort of hoping that something comes up. In this case, something being either more my other copy of Clairvoyance, or an enemy that I can bend to my will.
Yeah. Why is this? I feel like I should be heading back to the barrier camp to investigate there. I feel like I should never have come to this frozen shore.
I mean, Frozen Shores and Barrier Camp are currently the same difficulty to investigate.
Yeah, they are. But there's more clues at the barrier camp, is my thinking.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm not supposed to see your hand, but I think you can get those 2 clues without too much trouble, should you wish to.
That's very true. I hadn't really thought about that. Cool.
Shall I take my turn?
Yes,
I
please
think I
do.
know what it's going to be. So that goes like that. And it's an additional cost, so I discard Clairvoyance beforehand, which means that I do have a arcane slot to put the servitor into, which is lucky. Yeah, I haven't yet taken the ability that gives it a bit. Anyway, never mind. So the servitor then goes onto the table. Hooray! It's the moment we've all been waiting for. That cost me 2. And it's going to move all by itself to the treacherous path. That's what it does.
Oh,
Um,
I like that.
and I'm going to spend. No, I'm not going to spend one resource on that. I'm going to move up to the fridge cave and spend my 2 remaining clues to look at this card, Cracks in the Ice. Would you like to do the honours again?
I would. It's a shame it's not the thing we were looking for.
Hmm.
As you traverse the glacial wilds, something rumbles and churns beneath your feet. Is that where these creatures are coming from? In the depths of the ice? A somber thought crosses your mind. If you're right, such entities could exert their vile influence no matter where you stand. Perhaps this has something to do with your missing companions after all, although there are no signs of them here. Um, the same deal again with the Tequila cards.
Yep.
So look through your deck. Do I have any that I want to get rid of?
I think it's me who resolves it.
Okay, yes, of course. Of course it is. My apologies.
That's okay. Um, uh, cool. That goes into the victory display. Yeah, I was just kind of hoping that was going to be what we were looking for.
Yeah.
So it goes.
Yeah, because the other alternatives for where what we're looking for is all require us to have a big pile of clues.
Yeah.
Am I right? Yeah. And actually, clues are like really rare at the moment. One of these three is what we're looking for, but combined they won 16. No, not 16. 8, 10, 14 clues to uncover, plus the 8 that we need for here.
So should
Right.
I abandon the frigid cave and come to the icy wastes and like accept? I can't even do much there, can I? With the intellect of 2,
Why don't you get the Frigid Cave clues while you're there?
because I have an intellect of 2 and the shroud is 4.
A reasonable reason.
I I mean I was hoping that an enemy would drop on my head here. Um,
There's a couple of clues on the treacherous path.
there
Uh,
are the servitor can pick those up.
cool.
I think I will draw a card.
Okay.
I've got something I can play, but I want to have enough resources to play Power Word if an enemy comes and drops on my head in the next turn. Ah!
Ah, shit.
Fuck's sake! Okay. I literally thought I got rid of all of those.
Are you sure you didn't accidentally, instead of removing it from your deck, put it on the bottom of on the top of your deck?
No, those are the 2 that I got rid of.
Okay.
Well, that was shit. Okay, discard a card at random. Okay, Mr. Frio.
Okay.
That's a shame. Anyway, would you like to take your turn?
I would. I'm also going to let you know, I think I can do about 20 more minutes tonight, but I'm a lot tireder than I gave myself credit for.
Ah, okay. Okay.
Like I said, I keep kind of zoning out on things, which isn't ideal for this game.
No, it's not a game that we can afford to do that, really.
No. Uh, right. I'm gonna try and fail, and then succeed at investigating this.
Yeah.
So I might as well draw thin if I'm definitely happy to fail.
Mm-hmm.
And quick learner will make it even harder. And it's already say 4, 5, 6, 7. It's going to be 7. Yeah, I will fail it. Definitely failed. So yeah, 7 versus 2 is what it was. Minus anything fails that.
It's a -1 because it's half a shelter value.
So I will play. Look what I found, and succeed anyway. It's
I don't think you can play that.
Sugar Puffs.
2 or less, right? And the shroud is
Yeah.
4.
I completely misread it. Yeah. Cool. My bad. Okay. I'll just do the failing a test stuff then. Get these resources back.
Just excuse me for a moment. I need to hand over a baby monitor to my other half. I'll be right back.
So I'm thinking I want to fail this by 2 or less. So obviously failed to do fairly spectacularly there. I think as long as I make it my 3rd plus action, I've got a reasonably good chance. So I might make my 2nd action installing this Derringer.
Hey,
Just in case I need it. Hey, welcome back.
what did I miss?
I was being good. I was talking through my turn. I wasn't just staring gormlessly into the camera. I may have done that for about 5 seconds, and then I thought about Schroeder.
Well done.
I have installed a Derringer.
Yep.
As my 2nd action. I've already failed an action this turn, so failing another doesn't feel great. But there's also no better thing to do than investigate this thing. So that's what I'm going to do. And this time it will be 3 versus 2. So I could just literally succeed, but I almost don't want to. I might as
Can I
well
interrupt your turn,
yeah.
Jessica?
Yes.
Are you still thinking that the shroud of the value is the shroud value of the location is 2?
No, I'm thinking that it's 4.
Okay.
But it's 4 minus 1 because of quick learner.
Yes, of course, yeah.
And I'm just wondering if I should use Avery Claypool. It feels silly not to, but
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's got a lot of uses.
It's got a lot of uses. It's not very good. So might as well. I think I thought when I got this that it removed the frost taken from the bag, but it doesn't.
No, they're very
Oh,
sticky.
fuck off.
It's not the standards we come to expect, Avery.
Dave, did you see that? Do you see me draw another one immediately?
Yes, I did, yeah.
Okay, fine. And are they -1 or -2?
They're -1.
Okay,
And if you draw 2, they're a auto fail.
but I cancelled the first one.
You cancel the first one, so it's fine.
Okay, cool. And that's -1 overall.
Mm-hmm.
So I failed it by exactly 2.
Hooray! It's the magic number.
It is the magic number to play. Look what I found.
Mm-hmm.
and get the clues off this shit heap of a location. Okay. So that was action 3. Action 4, unless you... I can't afford to try and go to the snow caves.
Why
And
do
if
you say
I...
that?
Because it needs 4 clues.
Yeah, that's how mathematics works.
It is, yeah. It's really...
It's
put me out
my
of...
old nemesis back once again to haunt my dreams. Fuck you,
brother,
mathematics.
nothing. So yeah, sadly, I can't do that.
Okay.
Which makes me think I should head north and try and get what clues I can from anywhere that I can.
Yeah, maybe the precarious ice sheet.
I mean, this is a good point that I will probably fail to get through the precarious ice sheet, but that's also kind of fine. Right, so let's try and move with...
If you really want to move, I think you can.
Is it only a 2? I've only got to beat 2, and I'm at 4.
Yes.
And I've actually only got to beat 1 because I've got quick learner. Yeah, I'll be leaving this
And
place.
you have one of the very best skill cards in the game in your hand, and you have an awesome recursion card in your hand that will bring back any survivor card of your choice.
Yeah. I just don't think I need to use it on a +3 skill check.
Neither rain nor snow.
Yeah. I'm already at
Correct,
+3.
but you might, if you're so confident of plus, you might want to use resourceful and pull back any of the awesome cards you've already played for another bite of the cherry.
Sure. Okay. So it's now 6 versus 1, yeah?
That's about right.
Cool. I win.
Hooray. How much did you win that investigate by, though?
I didn't win the investigate.
You failed it. You failed it by an appropriate amount. Yeah.
Exactly 2.
Cool. Fine.
It might be look what I found.
I think that in this deck, in our current situation, that would be what I would look at.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's the best card for this situation. Yeah. I don't even really need to look through the rest.
Yeah, as you're running a scavenging deck, it's probably better to recur the non-item cards using resourceful because you already have a way to recur the items. And of the non-item cards, I think look what I found is probably the killer.
Yeah. Okay, that's my turn.
Cool. So through the ice stays there.
Yes, because I beat it.
Fine. Shall we do one more turn?
Yes, let's do one more turn.
Cool.
So upkeep, monsters, mythos, turn.
Yeah.
I don't need this at all.
We do have a mechanic to pay off at some point in the future. So
yeah, that's true.
Your cup does runneth over at the moment in terms of money.
I essentially have, whenever I want it, a get 2 resources essentially clicklessly button in the form of drawing thin.
Yeah.
It's a little bit broken.
Drawing thin is a disgusting card that has been tabooed.
Really?
Yeah. I'm just right now marveling that it doesn't have the text limit 1 in play, for example.
Oh my gosh, it really doesn't.
It really doesn't.
And I have another one in my hand.
Mm-hmm.
Do you play them both at the same time?
You can put them both on the board, and you can use them both at the same time. Yeah.
That's wild.
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
Okay. Like, do you want me to say the really like tempting fate complacent thing in my head?
Yeah, do it.
I want to boost the difficulty after this campaign. I'm finding this either like by introducing a taboo list or literally just by doing a higher difficulty. I think I'm finding Stella's synergies a little bit too easy.
Mm-hmm. I think that looks to be the case at the moment, and
Yeah, it's tempting. I know it's tempting fate.
it's not just tempting. The game is very good at biting you in the arse.
Yeah.
And we are at the moment struggling to get through a gate of getting enough clues to get to complete this.
Yeah, that's true.
To complete the scenario. So I hear you, and I think you're probably ready to start playing the taboo list after this. Yeah. So in the taboo list, I'm just checking now. Drawing thin is a +3 experience. So it's no longer it's still a level 0 card. So that they do what's called chaining them, where they keep the same level, but there's an additional experience cost. So it doesn't change who can and can't take them, but it just means you have to pay XP to take them.
Cool.
So yeah, that certainly would be something that would be worth doing in the future.
Shall we do a mythos phase?
I was just hoping we could just kind of skip it, really.
I mean, we could call it a night.
No, let's 2 Doom of 5. Please draw an encounter card. Let's go.
A Pyrophobia. A revelation where I test my willpower, where I could against the shelter value of where I am. And then one of various horrible things happens.
The good news is you're at a 0 shelter location. So unless you pull the auto fail, you will by default pass this test, no matter how low your modified value.
Cool.
That'll do.
That skull is also minus half the shelter value, so it's minus half of 0 against the. Cool. I went.
Hooray!
Oh, sugar puffs. That's not what I meant to do. That's your.
That's mine, right? So
yeah,
I'm Dark Aurora.
Yes.
Again, it's a willpower test, which I like. And it's the converse of the one that I just pulled. So horror for each frost token revealed during test. If you fail, take 2 horror. Test 3. So I will commit that. So I'm at a 6 versus 3. Feel like something should have happened then. It made a noise, but then nothing happened.
Yeah.
That's a frost token. Okay, that's all right. So that's a -2. I still pass, and I take 1 horror.
Okay.
Oh my god, how am I at 4/4?
I don't know.
4,
You
5.
started with some, I think.
I started with some because I've got I've been dabbling in the dark arts. I've got arcane research. Okay, let's keep an eye on that.
Yeah, definitely. Because you're quite close to like dying of physical trauma right now.
Yeah, surprisingly close.
Can I make a statistical observation?
Yes.
That will also be part of a hilarious running joke, although that's not why I'm making the observation.
Go for it.
I don't think we should go to the crystalline cavern. It's the running joke part. And my reasoning is that I think if you run the numbers and we went to the snow graves and the broad snowdrift, we would probably, by the time we've done both of those things, we would probably have found another person. for less clues.
Mhm. I mean, we at the moment we are on the second agenda of 3, and we are a little under halfway through that agenda. It's not out of the question that we will get all 3 of our missing team
Yeah, I don't
members.
think it's out of the question either. I'm just saying I think we should, at the very least, leave the crystalline caverns for last. But I can also see that, like, I'm a little bit obsessed with the not letting us go to the crystalline caverns.
I think whatever happens, we are going to be. I'm about to just like run around aimlessly. My poor put upon progeny, the summon servitor, is about to demonstrate that, despite being like an eldritch, pointy-headed monster, better than the shit stage magician at finding clues, and I'm gonna like spin my wheels for some time.
How many cards do you have in hand?
I have 3 cards in hand.
And how much would you enjoy sacrificing them all to the icy wastes?
I would not enjoy it very much, but I might enjoy
That
it more than doing literally nothing. It's certainly an
yeah,
option. I mean,
like
the embarrassing thing is that the servitor is better at investigating anywhere than I am without me having some tricks.
so could the servitor
Very slowly.
yeah.
So this turn it can move to
Oh,
the ice sheets. The next turn it can
also
move to the icy wastes.
if you take control of a clue from there, you will lose your hand, even though it's the servitor that
That is correct. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, okay.
I've checked that out already. I had hoped that I could send it off to Brave the Mirage, but sadly, that's not going to work. Yeah, I think the surface is probably better off taking the clues off Treacherous Path just because it's pretty lumbering and slow moving.
Okay.
But we can also consider sending off to the wastes in due course.
Shall I take my turn?
Yeah, do it. It's likely to be more exciting than mine.
Cool. Shall I get the clues off Precarious Ice Sheet?
I think you should.
So that is 1. 2. Yeah, it's great. 2. I'll investigate with the intention of failing. So this is going to be a 6, 7 versus 2, or 2 versus 7. There's Frost Taken, which I'm not going to cancel. There's second Frost Taken, so it's an auto fail, which is fine.
You're not going to cancel it?
No, because I want to fail this. So
Okay. Sure.
I planned. I did that on purpose, actually. Yeah,
Ah,
I failed that on purpose.
cool.
It's literally Stella's entire thing. Right. Take 2 resources, and we'll draw a card with Rabbit's Foot. That's an ideal card to draw. I'm fairly certain we're now just over the hand limit.
You're nice.
Okay, investigate again. Now with a +1. So 3 versus 4. It's not 3 versus 4. Yeah, it's 3 versus 4. So I failed, but only by 1, which means I can play Look What I Found.
Okay. It's a minor detail, but quick learner reduces the difficulty rather than increases your skill.
Yes, I'm aware of I'm aware of that. I've been doing it a little bit wrong. Right, that was my third action, I believe. And I need to do something with my last one. Your service is going to take ages to get here, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
This is my last ditch place to go for clues, to be honest. I'm going to start heading to the barrier camp and get some from there.
Yeah, do it.
Okay, that was my last action.
Cool. There's no enemies on board. Let's do the upbeat phase. Okay. Right, okay.
I've got to discard. Scavenging is what I'll discard. This is such a powerful deck. It's just all draw and resources, and then there's like a small question of like, what is the payload of that draw and resources? Like, I can get down the other drawing thin, but it feels like overkill. It really does.
I think if it will make the game less interesting,
Yeah.
they're like, maybe don't.
I mean, there's an interesting thing, like, on some level, you get to a certain point where you can have too much draw, right? In a deck that has weaknesses in, that you
Yes.
are Tequila Leals in and stuff, that you are also naturally thinning by playing cards out of it onto the table,
Mhm.
you can have too much draw and be drawing through a deck that has become bad to draw through.
Yes.
But like, if that's the downside of your deck, you're doing so incredibly well that it's just nonsense.
Yeah.
Okay, shall we leave it there?
Yeah. Yeah.
Ready to start a Mythos phase next time?
I feel like I haven't had a turn. I haven't had my turn, Jessica.
Did you have your turn? I'm really sorry.
No, it's fine. I just completely neglected to do it. I think I've been so sort of chewing my lip over not quite knowing what I can do and it being a bit useless. But I haven't like we actually this is the high point to end the stream, which is the service doing something. I think my turn is gonna. I think I'm probably gonna work up to having almost no cards and coming and investigating the Mirage
Yeah.
location, the Icy Waste. Here, 1, 2, 3. Yeah. But let's start with the servitor because we know what's going on with them. So they're investigating at 4 versus 2. Boom. That's a -3. How annoying. Okay.
That is nice.
This is what I get for saying the servitor's going to do. The servitor's not going to do anything. Once again, my son is a disappointment and brings shame on his family. So that's nice. Okay, I'll do that. I'll play Showmanship for 1. Yeah. And I think I probably need to leave this place. I don't think I can do anything good here. I think I'm going to move back to the Rocky Crags with a view to coming and sacrificing myself to the Mirage and hopefully getting some clues there. That was my turn.
Great. Well, that was a lot of fun. I'm sorry I didn't have more spoons for playing tonight.
That's okay. They're limited. It's a thing.
Yeah.
Do you want to have a chat about our next stream now or off stream for a couple of minutes?
So my belief is that our next stream is on Thursday night at 8:30.
Yes, that's my belief as well. And It is the last one before I go off to China for most of August.
Okay. I think we should play Netrunner on that stream because there's loads of Netrunner stuff happening at the moment.
Yeah.
Do you feel the same?
I was quite keen to, but I'm also quite keen to not have an unfinished scenario for a month.
Yeah, I know what you mean. When do you go away?
It will be a week. It will be the following Thursday.
Okay. Maybe we could fit another one in on the Sunday.
Yeah,
If you wanna do that?
I would
Do a
love to do
Thursday
that. Yeah,
Netrunner?
I'm making a face because I can't remember whether I've got any other commitments. But let's try and fit one in as we're going to be having
Yeah.
a enforced break.
Yeah.
Cool.
We'll see what we can do. But unless something happens, I think Thursday Night Netrunner makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, sounds good.
Cool.
Awesome. Okay, cool. Well, catch us then. Thanks for watching, those who have been.
No thanks for
Almost
watching.
certainly at some point in the future, the Summon Servitor will get a clue and there will be much rejoicing. Today was not that day. Persevere. I believe in my child, much though I'm besmirching his name throughout all of our streams. I'm extremely hyped for the cards that we're going to see from Netrunner this week.
Yeah, me too.
And looking forward to talking all about them and related matters.
I think there's going to be some really amazing scoops in the next few days.
I think so too. I'm looking forward to it. And yeah, thank you, everyone. Good night. Make sure a cop near you has a bad day. And we will see you on Thursday. Lots of love and good evening.
Good night, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye.